Good evening, students. Today we will discuss more about paper chromatography. Already we have seen a video and we have already discussed about this in short videos. And today we are going to discuss in detail about this. Okay. So paper chromatography is the first and foremost and easiest method among all the other types. Okay. Yes. So this paper chromatography is developed by some scientist named Friedrich Schonbein, and paper chromatography is used to separate and isolate identification and quantitative determination of organic and inorganic compounds. The mixture of compounds can be separated using paper chromatography. Chromatography is a separation technique and paper chromatography is a widely used technique among the chromatographic techniques. Okay. In this, inorganic and organic compounds can be separated. Mixture of inorganic and organic compounds can be easily separated using this technique. Okay. Then it can be used to separate the substances depending on the solvent which we use. Okay. So it is carried out mainly by flow of solvents and on specially designed filter paper. We know and we have discussed about what is the type of filter paper used in paper chromatography. That is called Whatman filter paper. Okay. So there are two types of paper chromatography. So first one is paper adsorption chromatography. Next one is a paper partition chromatography. In the other class we have discussed about the classification of chromatography. Chromatography is classified based on the stationary phase, okay, and the mobile phase. Yes. So if the stationary phase is a solid and the mobile phase is a liquid, we have some techniques, okay, like thin layer chromatography, column chromatography, and one among them is paper adsorption chromatography. In this, paper is already loaded with some, what is that, stationary phase substance like silica or alumina. We have already discussed the structure of silica and alumina in the earlier classes. So silica and alumina are the compounds which are very polar in nature and they can be coated on the aluminum plate or they can be coated on the glass, and if they are coated on the paper then they can be used under paper adsorption chromatography. So paper coated with the silica or alumina acts as the, what is that, stationary phase, okay, and a solvent act as mobile phase. One category this is. Second one is, so this is called as solid liquid chromatography, whereas the second one is paper partition chromatography. This is also called as, comes under liquid chromatography. Here both the stationary phase and the mobile phase both are liquids. So paper, Whatman paper, when it is dipped in water, okay, so moisture or water present in the pores of the cellulose fibers present in the filter paper, they act as stationary phase and the mobile phase is used as solvent, right? So this is paper partition chromatography. So these two types are comes under paper chromatography. ఓకే, ఇందులో ఏంటంటే ఫస్ట్ దాంట్లో పేపర్, వాట్మెన్ పేపర్ని సిలికా కానీ అల్యూమినియంతో కానీ కోట్ చేస్తారు, అది స్టేషనరీ ఫేస్ లాగా యాక్ట్ చేస్తుంది అండ్ సాల్వెంట్ యాక్ట్ యాజ్ మొబైల్ ఫేస్. వేరాజ్ ఇన్ ద పార్టిషన్ క్రోమాటోగ్రఫీ వాట్మెన్ పేపర్ డిప్డ్ ఇన్ వాటర్, ఓకే, ఆ వాటర్ ఏమవుతుంది, సెల్యులోజ్ అదే మనకి పేపర్ అంటే నథింగ్ బట్ ఇట్స్ సెల్యులోజ్ ఫైబర్స్ అరేంజ్మెంట్, ఓకే, ఏమో ఇన్ దట్ ఫైబర్స్ వాటర్ విల్ గో అండ్ సిట్, సో దట్ together will form a stationary phase and the mobile phase is again a solvent here, okay. So these two are the types of paper chromatography. So next one is paper chromatography. Again the classification goes like it is of three types depending on the development, that is ascending chromatography, descending chromatography and radial chromatography. So that we will discuss now one by one, okay. So okay. phase. So till here we have discussed now. And the next one is principle of separation. What is the principle behind the paper chromatographic separation? Okay, cellulose layers in filter papers contain moisture which acts as stationary phase, and organic phase or buffers are used as buffers, means which resist the pH change. It's a mixture of compounds dissolved in water which resist the pH change, is called as buffer. So this can be used as mobile phase. Okay, so practical requirements, మనకి ఏమేం కావాలి పేపర్ క్రోమాటోగ్రఫీ టెక్నిక్ చేయాలి అంటే we need a stationary phase, and paper is a stationary phase. Here it can be either used as it is dipped in water, or it can be used while coating with silica or alumina. Next ఏంటి application of sample. చెప్పాను కదా మొన్న sample, it can be a liquid or it can be a solid. If it is a liquid, if it is directly applied using a capillary tube on the paper. If it is a solid, then you have to use some solvent to dissolve that sample, and then you have to apply using a capillary tube. Next one is a mobile phase. We know that mobile phase means moving solvent. Okay, next development technique. ఎలా డెవలప్ చేస్తున్నారు అనేది కూడా it is a development technique we will learn. And next finally detection or visualizing agents. The other day we have discussed that మనం ఏం చేసాం, యూవీ లైట్ తో ఎలా డిటెక్ట్ చేసాం అనేది నేర్చుకున్నాం. నెక్స్ట్ KMnO4 సొల్యూషన్ తో ఎలా డిటెక్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం అనేది TLC లో చూసాం. ఇక్కడ కూడా we will discuss about the detecting techniques. Okay, so stationary phase. So Waterman filter papers అనేటివి it is of different types. ఇలా ఉంటాయి. So box of Waterman filter papers looks like this, and they are round in shape, and they can be of different grades like number 1, number 2 అలా different categories లో ఉంటాయి. Okay, they contain 98 to 90%, 99% of alpha cellulose. Alpha cellulose అంటే మనకు what is that, ట్రీస్ లో ఉండే ప్రోటీన్. సో దాట్ ఏంటంటే ఇక్కడ ఎంత పర్సంటేజ్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటుందో అంత దగ్గరగా ఉంటాయి దాని పోర్స్ అన్నట్టు. ఓకే, సో నెక్స్ట్ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ దట్ గవర్న్స్ ద చాయిస్ ఆఫ్ ద పేపర్. ఓకే, ఏది వాడాలి, ఏ టైప్ ఆఫ్ పేపర్ వాడాలని డిటర్మైన్ చేసేది నేచర్ ఆఫ్ శాంపుల్, సాల్వెంట్స్ యూజ్ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ క్వాలిటేటివ్ అనాలిసిస్ క్వాంటిటేటివ్ అనాలిసిస్ చేస్తున్నాం. నెక్స్ట్ పేపర్ డిపెండింగ్ ఆన్ ద థిక్నెస్ ఆఫ్ ద పేపర్. దిస్ యూ డోంట్ నీడ్ టు బాదర్ అబౌట్, బేసిక్స్ చదువుకుంటే సరిపోతుంది మనము. ఓకే, సో నెక్స్ట్ వన్ ఈజ్ ఎలా చేస్తాం ప్రిపరేషన్ ఆఫ్ పేపర్ ఏంటంటే కట్ ద పేపర్ ఇంటూ డిజైర్డ్ షేప్ అండ్ సైజ్ డిపెండింగ్ అపాన్ ద వర్క్ టు బి క్యారీడ్ అవుట్. మీకు ఎంత పేపర్ సైజ్ కావాలో అంత పేపర్ ఫస్ట్ కట్ చేసుకోవాలి యూజింగ్ ఏ స్కేల్ అండ్ ఏ కటర్. ఆ తర్వాత ఏం చేయాలి, స్టార్టింగ్ లైన్ అనేది మార్కర్ పెన్ తోటి మనం ఆల్రెడీ మనం లాస్ట్ వీడియోలో చూపించినట్టు ఒక లైన్ గీసుకోవాలి. ఆ తర్వాత ఏం చేయాలి, ఈ లైన్లో యూ హ్యావ్ టు మేక్ ఏ స్పాట్ యూజింగ్ ఏ pencil. Okay, in that spot only you have to apply the sample. So in order to know where we have applied the sample, because most of the samples, organic or inorganic, they are colorless. In future, if we have, after development, if we have to know where we have applied the sample, this is the best technique. Apply a dot or put a dot with a pencil at the place where you want to apply the sample. Okay, so next one is, so after cutting and system is something. Okay, so after making the plate ready or paper ready, then you have to prepare the solution which is to be separated. Choice of a suitable solvent for making solution is very important. See, if you take a solvent like organic solvent for dissolving of the solid, then it becomes easy for us to load the sample. Okay, so the appropriate solvent should be selected to dissolve the given sample. Then application of the sample. The sample to be applied is to be dissolved in the mobile phase. Okay, if it is dissolved in a organic mobile phase, then that will be very easy for separation, and applied as a small spot in the original line using the capillary tube or micropipette. Micropipette ani lab lo untundi, that it's costly, so but we generally use the capillary tube. So take the sample in the capillary tube and put a spot like this on at the place where the pencil mark is made on the paper in very low concentration. Okay, so next one is the spot is dried. Okay, and the filter paper is placed in the developing chamber. In the last week class we have discussed already what is developing chamber. This is a chamber made up of plastic or glass chamber which is having a lid for its coverage, and that you can dip the paper, okay, using a clip like this shown in the figure. Here in the figure, you you can see that a paper clip is here. Using this clip, this paper can be hanged in the developing chamber, and in that developing chamber already there is solvent poured in it, okay, whatever the suitable solvent. Commonly employed solvents are polar solvents, okay, polar solvents like water, isopropanol, okay, like that most of the solvents used for paper chromatography are polar solvents, okay. If pure solvents do not give satisfactory separation, then a mixture of solvents can be used, okay. Sometimes what happens is the partition chromatography, this we are discussing about the partition chromatography, this does not occur in a single solvent, so it cannot be achieved completely using a single solvent, so mixture of solvents are to be used sometimes, okay. So next, mobile phase, pure solvents or buffer solutions or mixture of solvents, this can be anything, can be a mobile phase. Suppose see here isopropanol, ammonia and water, okay, this is a mixture of solvents, this can be used as a solvent, okay, or pure water can be used or pure isopropanol can be used. Methanol and water are generally used for paper chromatography, okay. So like this the solvent system depending on the nature of the sample which is to be separated, okay. Next, chromatographic chamber, or this is also called as developing chamber. This is made up of material like glass, plastic or steel. Generally it is made up of glass only. Plastic also we generally don't use. Generally we use only glass, okay. See here, glass tanks are preferred most. They are available in various dimensions depending on the paper which we use. So this is called the hanging clip. So here we hang the paper into the chamber. Already the isopropanol and water is there in it, which is used as a solvent. Then what happens, once the paper is dipped into the developing chamber which is having the solvent starts moving onto the paper and it ascends the paper. It ascends the paper by capillary action, okay. So next one is development technique, how the development is occurring, okay. Paper is flexible when compared to glass plate used in TLC. Several types of development is possible with increase in the and ease of operation, okay. Paper anedi enti manaki it is in a TLC what we use the glass slides and we coat silica or alumina on it. But paper, when it is compared to the glass, is more flexible. It can be bent or it can be used in different ways for development, okay. So the solvent will rise up to and it is allowed to run 2/3 of the paper height for better and efficient result, okay. The solvent which is there in the development chamber, it ascends the paper by capillary action and it is allowed for 2/3 of its length of the paper, okay. See here, so as I have earlier told you that there are 3 different types of development techniques for paper chromatography: ascending, descending and radial methods. Ascending ante enti, see the paper is dipped in the solvent and the solvent is moving or it is ascending, paiki veltundi. So paper ki ila paiki raavadani ascending antaru, okay. So the solvent will be moving onto the paper with the help of capillary action, and this solvent sometimes may overflow, so we have to be very careful so that only 90% of the paper is dipped in the solvent, okay, and once the development is completed, okay. So these are the clips. This is the rising solvent which is there. Till here, if the solvent is rise, then you can take out the paper strip, original spot mixture, and this is the solvent here, okay. So general ga manam chese method ni this is called, what is that, ascending chromatography. Descending means we have to put the paper on the top, see, in the reverse direction. If the development is taken place, that is called as descending chromatography. This is carried out in special chamber where the solvent holder is at the top. What will happen here in this technique, the solvent holder will be at the top, the paper will be hanged. When the paper is hanged, the spots will be on the top and the solvent is flowed from here, so that the solvent moves from the higher end to the lower end. This is called as descending chromatography. This is quite opposite with that of ascending chromatography. In this method, solvent moves from top to bottom. So this is called as descending chromatography. What is the advantage of this technique then? Development is faster here when compared to the ascending chromatography. The development of the plate is much faster in the descending chromatography, okay. So then the third one will be the radial method. Radial method, the sample will be applied at the center of the Whatman filter paper by cutting it like